What's going on, guys? It's HawkWX, and today I'm going to be showing you guys a pretty cool pond and house that I built in Minecraft. If you enjoyed today's video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. Thanks, guys. Now let's get into the video. Alright, guys, so here we go. Right here, I was basically trying to figure out what I wanted to lay for the foundation, like what shape I wanted to make it, and I basically went with a pond shape. I think that makes sense. I wanted to make a pond, so I went with something that kind of resembled the shape of a pond. Also, guys, I've never done a video like this before where I'm doing the voiceover after I actually did my build, so hopefully this will turn out well. I'm not sure, but I just wanted to give it a try and see how it turns out. I felt like this would be better, like me explaining what I was doing rather than commentating it while I was building, because I was building it for like, I think it was over 3 hours. It was like 3 hours and 18 minutes, so yeah, it would have been a lot of just excess, unnecessary commentary. But anyway, we have the shape building here, and it's nothing crazy. Honestly, there's gonna be a lot of cutting and a lot of time-lapsing in this video. So right now, I might actually time-lapse to the point where this build is laid out, like the foundation, the shape of the pond. Alright, so I'm just about to finish the foundation's layout right here, and then I'm gonna go up and look at it, I believe, right here and show you guys kind of what it looks like. So yeah, here's the foundation that I had laid out. You can kind of see it. It's where all the fresh dirt is. I think it's a pretty good outline, or was a pretty good outline, I should say, since this is already done. And then once I got to this point, I just started to build up. I started to build the walls and the height that I wanted for this pond. I tried to not make it too huge, but I tried to make it where it would look like a real pond that you'd see in real life. A lot of people, I feel like, they make like the small ponds in Minecraft, which is cool. There's a lot of fun things you can do with little ponds, but I wanted to make like a, what if there was a real, like, full-sized, almost pond in Minecraft. So yeah, right now, what you see me building is what I do to the whole entire pond. I do it to the whole outline. And once I got done doing this to the frame of the pond, I started to kind of transform the whole entire terrain, which is pretty hard to do. It was the hardest thing in the build. It took the most time. It's just the blending without making it look like, oh, this was obviously man-made. And by the end, it honestly does. Like, I think I did a pretty good job making it blend. Like, it looks like something that could have just been in the Minecraft world, but it's meant to like look like I built it at the same time, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't want it to look like I just went up to some pond that's just naturally generated in Minecraft and threw up a house and was like, yeah, I made this. I wanted it to look like an actual pond that was like made by somebody. But yeah, guys, at this point, I'm just gonna time lapse or skip to when I have this whole entire wall type thing that I'm building on the frame finished. Okay, so I just got done wrapping up the frame here, and this is what it looked like. This was the whole entire base for the pond. This is what the full shape of it. You can see it a lot better now, obviously. And at this point, I started to build up a little bit, kind of get that little hill shape. Or there's like, if you've ever been to a pond in real life, they're not just flat. Like when you get to them, they're not just flat around the edges. Usually, at least every pond I've been to in my life, there is some sort of like a dip, and then there's the water, like this. It's like there's the dip and then there's the water. It's not just flat. Like you don't just walk up to a pond and it's just like, it's just there. I don't know how to explain it. Like it had to be dug out. Like a pond had to get dug out to be there. They're all man-made. At least all the ponds I've been to were man-made. I actually don't even know if there's any ponds that weren't man-made. But anyway, I tried to make it look like this pond is a pond in real life. Like a pond that you'd see in real life. Like it has the dip. Just it looks like it was a dug up pond. Like I didn't want it to look like a pond you just walk up to and it's flat with no character or anything. But yeah, man, this was the worst part. The terrain blending and trying to like figure out how I was gonna make it look like a natural pond in real life was the hardest thing. It just took a lot of time, which makes sense. It's just tons of dirt. I bet I used thousands of blocks of dirt, maybe more than that. I honestly, like, I wasn't counting when I did this, but I didn't think that would be very fun. But what you're seeing me do right here is what I do to make the dip shape. And honestly, I'll just skip to the point where I have the dip shape done, and when I start kind of blending the terrain down, like downward on the back to kind of create like a hill type shape. Because I didn't want my pond to just look like the Great Wall of China, just in a circle shape. Alright guys, so I skipped forward a little bit. Here is the dip shape that I was talking about. How when you walk up to a pond, you there's edges around it. I think what I did in game, I think I did a pretty good job of doing that, of showing, or of just looking like what a pond does in real life when you walk up to it. Like this here does not look like a pond in real life. This looks like a dirt toilet bowl, but it's actively being worked on, okay? It's gonna be a pond by the end of the video. And there's a house, I forgot about that. I actually do build a house. I don't decorate the inside of the house or anything, but I do build like a full, pretty cool house in my opinion. And now here what I'm doing is when you go to a pond in real life, there's kind of, well, usually if there's a dam, there's the flat ground on top and then you go down a hill. And I kind of tried to do that. And obviously I have to do that. I have to get the ground to be, I didn't want it to just be like a really sharp, it looked like a pyramid. If I did it any differently than this, it was really hard to not make it look like a pyramid, honestly. So I had to, well, just really sharp triangular edges is what I wanted to avoid. The big thing that I had to do to avoid that, avoid the big triangle edges, was do this, which was make somewhat of a flat walkable top, because when you get to a pond, like there's the walkable area where you can cast your line into fish and whatnot. It's not just a slope up and a slope down. Like, I don't even know what I'm saying. I guess it'll just make more sense when I have this pond built. And I do live in an area with a lot of ponds, so I'm not gonna listen to any comments telling me that this isn't what ponds look like, all right? I'm actually a pond expert, that's why I did this video. All right, but anyway, there's not much else to talk about with this little edge thing that I try to do, so I'm just gonna skip to the point where the whole entire, the flat area that I'm kind of talking about is finished. All right, so right here, I am finishing up the giant flat part of the dirt toilet bowl, and I fly up and you can see what I mean by the flat area, what I was trying to talk about, that you the flat area that you can stand around ponds basically, before the little dip and before the dip down the back. But the dip down the back isn't as present in real life. It's just, I have to do it for this. I just can't have flat cliff edges on my pond in Minecraft. And this was where the nightmare started. This is where I started working on blending it with the rest of the terrain. And as you can see down below me, there's actually a big river. So I had to kind of cover part of the river by the time that this whole thing gets done. But the river, it still honestly looked natural because I didn't cover the whole river, but it was really close. It would have looked really bad, honestly, if I covered the whole river, I think. And yeah, basically, I just try to blend this whole thing all the way down to the ground, kind of, and make it like walkable, like so you can walk up and down it, obviously. I want to be able to get to my pond. I don't want to be able to just look at it. And this was big. Honestly, this whole project is probably one of the biggest builds I've ever done in Minecraft. The only one probably that took longer was one time I built a football stadium. And by the way, football to me is American football, not soccer. So I honestly do not care if people call soccer football, and if other people that like soccer say that football is not football in America. It literally affects my life in no way. But anyway, now that I basically covered what I was trying to do here, just blend the whole thing, I'll honestly probably just time lapse or cut all the way to when I'm finished blending the ground here. And this was just the worst part. This segment of video that I'm looking at here of the recording of me building this is the part that's an hour and 13 minutes long. So it was an hour and 13 minutes just doing this, literally just doing this, getting it all the way down to ground level, blending it, which yeah, it was pretty fun. I'd highly recommend it to anybody. If you have nothing better to do and have no life, it's definitely something really enjoyable to do with your time. So this is where I'm to the point where I'm actually blending it in the river, finishing up blending it in the river and blending it in general. The river's the last part that I did. I'm pretty sure I go up and look at it now and show what the fully blended thing looks like. Yeah, here it is. I mean, are we looking at a volcano outline or a pond outline? I don't really know. It kind of looks like a volcano, a giant volcano at the moment, but it gets better. It gets a lot better once grass starts to grow, you know, once I get the pond actually there. But anyway, as you saw, I got the whole entire outside done. It looked like the volcano. And this is where I started to blend the inside. I wanted to get the inside to not just like be a giant fall off, a giant cliff on the inside. I want it to blend in just like the outside does to the ground. And honestly, blending the inside really helped, I think, in general, with making the pond look like a pond. Like it made the volcano look kind of go away, because volcanoes, they're just sheer on the inside. Ponds are gradual declines into the water, or the water gradually declines. It's not just a giant cutoff straight to nothing. So I literally do the same exact thing that I did to the outside to the inside. And this would not be a survival friendly build, by the way, unless you're gonna spend your whole entire life in survival digging up dirt and wasting all your materials on making shovels, then this would not be a very survival friendly build, but it's doable in survival. It could be fun to do. And honestly, guys, that's probably what a lot of my build videos will be. Just me, things that come to my head, come to my brain. I will probably try to build in Minecraft for my videos when I do build videos. And if there's anything that you guys want to see me build, just let me know down in the comments, because I think that could be fun too. Building things that you guys would like to see. But yeah, I mean, we're to the point again where it's time for another cut or time lapse. I'm just gonna go until I have this whole entire inside finished, because there's nothing to watch besides me placing this dirt all the way down to the ground, blending it. I just got done finishing the inside. This is what it turned out to look like, and then I think I fly out here to see what it looks like. Yeah, I am right now. And as you can see, it looks a lot more like a pond. Like when you picture water in there, it's gonna look a lot more like a pond. It doesn't look so much like a volcano now. And dude, the terrain blending was the hardest part, but at the same time, ponds, there's not a whole lot I could do for terrain building for making a pond this huge. Like if I dug the pond out in the ground, that would be one thing, but I really wanted to get like a cool, different pond design going. And you know, it doesn't have to look good to be different. You know, I tried to get philosophical there, it didn't really work. And then right here, my brain was off. I was trying to figure out how I was gonna fill up this whole pond. You know, I was like, oh, well, that's not gonna work. So I had to place a bunch of iron blocks across the top. That's what I ended up doing here in a second when my brain turns back on. Once I got it covered in iron, I took my water bucket and I covered all the iron with water. And then basically all I had to do was mine the iron once I had it all placed and covered in water, and it would just fill the whole entire thing. But yeah, I'll see you guys once I'm done placing this whole entire iron lid. And actually once I'm done covering it in water, because there's nothing exciting about covering it in water either. All right, guys, so right here, I'm removing the last few iron blocks, and then the whole entire thing is filled, and the pond's a pond at this point. And look at this, we go for a little swim here, we test out our waters. Works pretty good, it works like water, you can swim around, and look at my swimming skills also, by the way, in Minecraft. You know, it's just something to be proud of. But yeah, the pond is filled at this point, and then I can finally start doing other things besides designing the actual pond. And yeah, here is what the pond looked like by the time it was filled up. And here you can see, this is when I think the build really started to come to life. I think that actually genuinely, I mean, you can tell it's a pond. You can tell it's a pond or a lake or something. And it actually doesn't look too bad, like blended with the terrain either, I don't think. And I think the shape turned out pretty good too. I was overall, when I saw that, when I was first building this, I was pretty happy with how it turned out, considering I've never thrown together ponds or anything. But right here at this point, I start to build a giant platform to put a house on. This is where the house kind of comes into play, or the laying out process of the house. And I build this whole dirt platform, and then I have to do the same thing that I did for the pond. I have to blend it with the terrain, which took some time, but it was nothing like doing the pond, dude. The actual design of the pond was probably 75% of this video of me spending time in creative, was probably me building the whole entire outline for the pond. It literally was the most time consuming part. I did make a house though that I think goes with the pond. I didn't want to throw together like a 4-block dirt house or something like that and call it good. I actually wanted to put some time into making a good house to go with the pond. But yeah, isn't this exciting? Just me and you watching me place dirt blocks. It does not get better than this. Anyway, I'll see you guys once I have this whole entire dirt thing laid out and once I have it blended with the ground. All right, so right here, I'm finishing up getting it done, being blended with the ground. Yeah, once the house is there, guys, it looks way better. When it's just bare dirt, it looks so bad. But when the house is actually there, it looks pretty solid. And honestly, I don't think it looks too bad right now even. I think you can tell like, oh, this is a pond. It's just a pond area with a dirt pad for right now. All right, so right here, I start placing the layout for what I want the house to look like, which is nothing crazy for the layout, but I did try to make it a pretty cool shaped house. I really did. Considering the area that I gave myself to work with, I didn't like give myself a giant platform to work with. I gave myself a pretty big platform, but we're not building like a woodland mansion here or anything like that. And also, I did actually spend a lot more time on the house than I thought. This part here that I'm looking at is 54 minutes long. It felt more like only half an hour. And as you can see right here, my skills were really on display. I had the house misaligned, so I fixed that though. And then we get rolling. I'm just gonna cut to the point where I have the whole entire outline for the house done, at least the first floor outline done. So then you guys can see what that looks like. And then we'll move on to the second floor and then the rest of the house, the balcony, whatnot, all that good stuff. So right here, I just decided to come to a point where the first floor is like done. The outline for the frame for the house, I guess, is done for the first floor. And at this point, I was trying to lay an outline for what would be the area for the second floor to go. And there was a cool thunderstorm going on at this point too. But yeah, I think it's a pretty solid sized house. I didn't do anything too crazy, but I think it is a good sized house. I'm guessing I show what it looks like by once I have this log stuff done. Yeah, here we go. I'm looking at it here. Yeah, it's a pretty solid sized shape for a house. All right, so I skipped ahead a little bit more, and this is where the first and second floor were fully done. This is where the house, besides the roof was basically done. And I also had a balcony around the outside, but this is what it turned out to look like, which I think is actually a pretty solid design. I was pretty happy with this. And it goes really, really well with the pond, actually. By the time I'm done with it all, I think that this house, for some reason, I don't know what it is about it, but I think it just went really, really well with the pond. But yeah, I think you guys had enough of seeing me build roofs in the last video, if you saw the last video, so I'm just gonna skip through to when this roof is done. All right, so I think this is pretty much when the house was completely done. Yeah, this is the house being pretty much, yeah, completely done. So here I am looking at it here, and I think it's a pretty solid house. Like I was saying, I think it actually goes with the pond really well. And here I go and look at the inside for a second. You could do so many things for decor in here. I could have, I just didn't want to waste a lot of time building the house. I really wanted to focus on getting the whole aesthetic of the pond with the house done, and just having the house there does really all you need it to. It doesn't need to be anything crazy on the inside. Oh yeah, cool lightning strike there. How rare is it to catch lightning on camera? But yeah, this is the house basically. This is the fully wrapped up, what will be the whole entire pond house. I really like it, I really do. I think it went really well with the house, or I mean with the pond. All right guys, now we're on to the final little section of footage here. And this is where I was starting to try to decorate the pond and try to really get it to come to life, because obviously it still just looks like a giant hole in the ground filled with water, because that's literally what it is. Yeah, this is where I started to add lots of decorations. I tried to get the actual pond to have decor inside of it. I put some things around the edges, and I added a lot around the outside too. All right, so right here, I'm placing sea kelp, or kelp, whatever they call it, and after I placed the kelp, I placed some seagrass, and that was about it for what I do to the bottom of the pond. But once I have that finished, I'll just skip to what that looked like when I had that finished. All right, so all the kelp and the seagrass is down. I was gonna put down coral, and I realized that that looks absolutely terrible. So I didn't end up putting the kelp, or I didn't end up keeping the coral. It looked really, really bad. I mean, there's just not coral in pond. Yeah, this is when I started putting the fishies in. So we have all the grass down. We have all the kelp down that we wanted. I didn't want to like make it look crazy, like I just did nothing but fill the whole entire thing. That wouldn't even look natural at that point. So I tried to just make it kind of just spread out well. Yeah, you can see here, this is basically the finished fish product, or the finished, I don't even know. Once I did that, I got out some saplings and I started going around putting trees down, and I went around honestly with bone meal, and I just started spamming it on the ground to make just grass grow, because there's usually tall grass around ponds. Usually they happen to be in pastures and fields. So yeah, that's what I did. I went around trying to make it look like a natural pond biome, and this was honestly one of the biggest effects for the whole thing, just making it look like a real. Also, I don't know why there wasn't grass yet in some spots. That was kind of annoying, but I think that going around with the trees or with the saplings and the bone meal really helped bring this to full life, honestly. I wanted the landscape around the house to look like an actual normal landscape too, not like it was just built on a pyramid. Okay, and then this is where I go around with the bone meal spam. So this was actually, I think that this might have been, well, the trees were huge too, but getting just this tall grass look around the pond was really big for this whole thing. It really actually made it look like it belonged where it is, like it was supposed to. I don't know, just made it look like more natural. It no longer looked like a pyramid filled with water, a dirt pyramid filled with water. And honestly, I'm just gonna cut to when I'm done spamming this bone meal. But yeah, you can see around the edge of the pond, at least, it looks like an actual pond now. It actually does look like a pond. And then here, I started to add things that you would kind of find in a pond this big at least. This pond is huge, I feel like, compared to normal ponds. So the first thing that I added to make this look more like a pond was a dock. I wanted to put a boat in the water with a little dock to go with it. And then I think I actually add frogs right after this. I'm pretty sure I remember that. There we go, I was right. I was looking for frogs. I do spawn frogs here. I was gonna say I remembered building a dock and then putting frogs in because I thought it was too empty. I guess I put lily pads in too. That helped too. That helped a lot with the aesthetic part of the pond. Dude, I actually didn't know that I don't know when frogs got added to Minecraft. They weren't in the game when I played before I made videos, or before I started making Minecraft videos. I literally hadn't played the game for like literal years. So I don't know when frogs got added. But when I saw them for the first time, I was glad they're in the game, because I think they're the best mob in the game. Just look at them. Look at the way they swim. They're just units. But look at the pond here. Look at how much it came to life just from the lily pads, the frogs, and the boat dock. Oh yeah, I add some fishing rods to a chest, just one fishing rod to a chest, just next to this little dock here, just to make it look a little cooler. And I think at some point I add lights to the docks. You know what? Who cares about the docks anymore? Let's move on to when I'm actually building something else. So yeah, here's the almost completed bridge. I was putting just lights on the post here, and I actually put posts underwater that like held up the bridge. Hopefully I look at that. Let's hope. Yeah, I do. Okay, you can see the little the fence post holding up the bridge there. Not for long, but I put some towards the front, towards the 2 entryways of the bridge, and then in the middle, so it would actually look like it was not just a floating bridge, since you don't really see many floating bridges in real life. And then right here, I just go on to build another dock. I thought that one would go good here. There was nothing here in this part of the pond. It was just empty, which I wanted to find a balance of not being empty and not having too much, like, because a build can get ruined by having too much clutter, but obviously having nothing going on is also not something you want. Guys, I'm not even kidding. There's been a few times where I'm like reviewing this footage and there might be something wrong with my head, man. I swear I hear the blocks placing sometimes and everything is muted. I don't know if that ever happens to you guys, but like I swear sometimes I will hear the Minecraft blocks when I'm like looking at them, like when I'm looking at them get placed and there's no sound at all, which is kind of a sad thing because that probably means I played a little too much Minecraft. And also I was playing Minecraft without sound earlier because with sound, like I could hear the blocks and stuff, just not music, because there's just copyright things I can run into with music in Minecraft. But I was hearing music too. Like I literally would randomly start hearing like Minecraft songs in my head, and then I'd realize, oh, the music's not even playing, it's just in my head. And it'd be like the same 3 songs only that repeat in my head because I don't have a big enough memory or big enough brain to remember all the Minecraft songs playing in my head. Just some of my new Minecraft disorders, I guess. But yeah, here's the completed bridge, But yeah, here's the completed diving board, running off the end here and doing this nice little jump straight onto a lily pad, and I think I get rid of it because I thought it was a little bit of a hazard. You could get hurt on the lily pad. So I run back up it, do a little 360, look at that. And then we're swimming with the fish. Look at this, absolutely beautiful. I thought about adding lights actually to the pond, like putting lighting around the bottom with like sea lanterns and stuff, but I thought that could look kind of goofy. Like I felt like that would have been crossing the line that I was talking about earlier about the not having too much or having too much, like having clutter. And I think that would have crossed the line. I think that would have added just clutter. I actually hop in the boat and I go out there and I test it out. I get in the waters to cast my line, see what I can reel in. So yeah, here we go, going out on the waters for the first time in our boat on our new pond. Cast the line. Give it a second. Something does come. I think it comes in from the right side. Comes in unexpectedly from the right side here. Look at that. There it is. There it is. It's almost like I've seen this before. It's almost like I built this, and then we reel in a pufferfish. Just not what we wanted to reel in. I almost ate it, but then I remembered I think you get poison effect when you eat pufferfish. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure. Unfortunate, but it's a keeper, so we put it in the chest. There we go. And then I think, I don't even know what I'm doing here at this point. I think I'm just running around looking at everything, kind of taking in everything. And then I run over to the bridge again. I know that for sure. I definitely look off the bridge here in a second. But when you're actually up here, does this not look like, I think it actually really does look like a really solid, good pond and good house. Like actually really, really good, really solid. I still don't know how I feel about the way that I blended the terrain. I think I could have done better, but it's honestly also like, what do you do to blend something that tall? Like it's doable, but when you're on flat ground, essentially, like I basically built this thing up from flat ground. It was just really tough to do. I probably could have done it, but I also would have covered up the whole river that was behind me. I would have covered up a lot of things. I think it would have looked even bulkier than it did at this point. So, and here we are just enjoying a swim with the fishies. I became a fish, a Steve fish. Very cool. Honestly though, dude, I am still really, really happy. Like even looking at it right now with how this thing turned out. Like you saw how it looked at the beginning. It literally looked like a dirt toilet bowl. Then it looked like a volcano. And now it looks like a pond with a house. Oh yeah, right here, I go out on my balcony and I try to see what it looks like from the balcony. Very cool too. I actually think that this is a pretty solid view. And then I think here, I actually probably fly out and see what it looks like just overall. The house is pretty underrated too, I think. I think the pond, like obviously was the main thing here, but I think the house goes really well with the pond. I really do. See, look at the house there. I think it matches the pond really well. I didn't expect the house to be so good with the pond. I just kind of threw up a house and it looks really good with the pond. And here I am, yeah, flying around and just kind of looking at what it looks like. And I think, just see what I mean by what the bone meal and the trees did for it, man? Like it to me almost fully looks blended here. Like it looks like this terrain could have generated here, but obviously at the same time I like it because I kind of wanted it to look man-made, because obviously ponds are man-made. I wanted it to look like time and effort was put into making a pond, but also like it was well blended, and I think it's a really good mix of both. I really do. Could have been better with the blending, I think, but overall, considering I've never ever done something like this before, I'm really happy with how it turned out. It was just something that came to my mind. I was like, this could be cool to build. So I started recording and turned this into a video, and I think it's a pretty solid build. One of my better ones. And I think just the reason I'm so I am so high up about it is because just of how much redesigning I had to do with the terrain. Like all of the blocks, like all the dirt that I, like mainly the frame, just building the actual outline of the pond and stuff took so long. And I think I'm just really happy about how that turned out. I wish I would have done more with making it not look so blocky around the house. Honestly, the pond looks fine, I think, but the area that the house is sitting on is pretty blocky. But anyway, overall, I'm really happy with how this thing turned out. Yeah, here we are just flying around enjoying our Minecraft masterclass. Where am I going? Nobody knows. Oh, this is where I kind of was like, oh, what's it look like if I walk out doing a survival world? Does it look natural or does it look like someone built it? Both, I would say. More like someone built it, but honestly, if you didn't know better, well, I mean, you come up here and you see all the built stuff and you're like, oh yeah, someone built this, but the terrain, honestly, I think it's blended pretty well. I'm very happy with my pond and all my fishies and my house. Very, very happy. I got my trees, I got my bridge, and I got my pond, and I got my fishing rods, and I caught my pufferfish. That's all I need in life. I happy. Can't forget about my frogs and my willy pads. But yeah, here we are looking at it one more time. The house with the pond, all of it, all at the same time. And then, okay, I just guess I was done. Wow. So yeah, guys, I guess I'll just pause it here at this end frame for a minute. I'm pretty happy overall with how this build turned out. I just kind of wanted to see what would happen if I tried to build a pond in Minecraft and build a house with it. And this was about the best that I could hope for. I think I got what I wanted out of it. I'm actually really happy with how this turned out. And guys, you'll definitely have to let me know down in the comments what you think about this build. If you think it's solid, if you think it's mid, if you think it's really, really bad, I think it's a 10 out of 10. Nothing can take that away from me. Being delusional is okay sometimes. Anyway, guys, that's gonna do it for today's video. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.